Hey everybody, Pablo PVarando here, Week 5, Assignment 1, Informative Speech. For this particular assignment, I'm going to be talking about basically the differences between a good website and a bad website. I'll use a couple different websites from the internet to basically talk about what makes the website good, what makes it bad, certain things that could be changed or should be changed to make the website better, and basically approaching it from a direction to show somebody who's trying to develop a website things to stay away from and things to keep in mind as you're building a website if you want it to be successful. There's an interesting article on web pages that suck, which I'll provide the information at the end of the screenshot, but there's basically 12 main things to keep in mind that basically make a website suck, as they call it. I think the biggest misconception that most companies have is that end users actually care about the company designs and the company aspect and aesthetics and how pretty their website is. Most individuals that go to a website, think about what you do when you go to a website. You're looking for what you're looking for. You want to make a payment. You want to look at a product and purchase the product. You want information about a product. You want to see what's going on in your area or in a particular story. And the quicker that you can get to that information, the better. So when you're developing a website, the main thing that you need to keep in mind is you're developing it or creating it for the user, not for yourself. If your favorite color is orange, but the website would be better in blue, make it in blue. Don't make it in orange. Simply because, the website is not for you, it's for the end users. By the same token, don't make people have to go through extensive clicks and things along those lines to get to the information that they need. So navigation is key. Don't give me 500 different options, even if it's high-level information or you think that it would be better for me. Don't do that. That's usually one of the biggest things that kills a website. You take the scenario of Facebook and MySpace. MySpace had stuff everywhere. Facebook, very clean, very to the point, very to here's what your friends are doing, here's what you can do, and here's who you can contact. That's it. Now MySpace is pretty much out of business for the most part in comparison to Facebook. So information is king. Get me to the information. That makes the user experience better. That makes that user come back to your system. Next thing in mind is allow users to understand what your website is about quickly. If it's a website about cars, don't show me pictures of motorcycles. Show me pictures about cars, so that way I can do a visual representation of what your website is about. If your website is about restaurant food or a particular restaurant and you have pictures of family members on vacation, yeah, no. Alright, back on point. Don't put too much information on a web page. The more information, the longer it takes for me to find out what I need to find, therefore the bad design aspects. If you're using Flash, Ajax, anything that is client-side technology, use it sparingly. I know that it can do wonders for budgets, bandwidth costs, things along those lines, but a lot of the times those particular pieces require end-user interaction or certain things to happen, and for those things to happen it requires, you guessed it, more clicks. So try and keep it as simple and as consistent as possible. By the same token, using Flash, Adobe Flash, a lot of the times Adobe Flash is awesome, but a lot of the times it can be overused and therefore kind of killing the entire user experience. So, not saying don't use it correctly, stream a video, present information, use it as a way to kind of get creative and catch the user's attention, but don't create the entire website in Flash. It might be neat and cool and great on a portfolio, but to an end user who has to wait for 15 different movies to load, yeah, no. So those are, I guess, the main things that kind of stand out in my mind that make a website bad, I guess would be the word. So keep it in mind with those. Let's go through some of the different websites. So the first website I kind of want to take a look at here is going to be ABC News. If you look at ABC News, basically
The layout is clean. It's definitely, catchy and professional. But if you notice, there is way too much information being delivered to the end user. So it's kind of overwhelming. Um, Granted, they have a nice big picture here and the top three stories here, but you know, I have to do a lot of searching and digging to get to the main stories. And I get that there's a lot of news, but you look at the delivery of that content, it just seems like way too much. Navigation, once again, a lot of clicks to get to the things that I need, but they've actually taken it a step further and kind of moved some of these things for you. So I'm not actually clicking, I'm just highlighting, and therefore the information changes, and therefore it makes it a little bit easier on me as the user. So definitely a good developed site, but could use some improvements as far as how they handle and deliver that information. Going on to the next one, CNET News. This is a technical news site for technical people, and I have to say probably one of the worst news delivery methods out there. It's pretty much all text. There is no direction of the eye. None of these things automatically move for you, so therefore it requires me to click. And when I do click into certain things, it just makes it even more harder to get to the information. So I think this website could use quite a bit more, eye candy or user interaction or user usability in mind. CNN being the next one. If you'll notice, there's a trend between the news sites and how they deliver. But again, the way that the information is driven, you've got your main points and main areas that deliver the content. CNN does things a little bit better, in my opinion, simply because they feature a little bit more with smaller images. It allows me at a quick glance to see what I want to see and therefore jump into that particular story. Navigation's a little cleaner and less information is being delivered. Now I have the capability of seeing more information, by expanding and moving these things, but again, at first glance, it's not overwhelming. Yahoo does it very similar. Their news and information, again, a lot of these things are done for you on the fly, so you don't have to click, and you can, at a high level, see if you can find what you need quickly. But again, it's, the market and the trend. For me, Google delivers it the best. Again, high level image, I can sort through and see exactly what I want quickly. Top areas here, so it's not overpowering, and I can develop it or search it and kind of deliver the information that I need quicker, and therefore I don't have to go out and search for it. It would search it for me and give me the information that I need. So for me, Google is probably the one that delivers it the best, simply because they are more concerned or more in thought with what the end user wants, as opposed to the traditional way that newspapers delivered information, and therefore I have to go look for it. When you get into shopping, it's a little bit different, because content and display is king. Amazon is probably one of the best out there simply because their entire system is catered to me, and therefore it knows what I like, what I'm looking for, and therefore delivers the information to me at first glance without requiring me to go there. Some of the main things and videos and things that I am into and that I've watched and that I do searches for, it keeps track of those things and tailors itself to me, and therefore it knows what I like and can deliver that information. The display and the navigation, very simple, very consistent all throughout the website. Consistency is king. Best Buy is another website that does it quite nicely, but I think they're a little too simplistic, if there is such a thing. Because it's so simplistic, it requires a lot of interaction for me to get to certain things. And don't get me wrong, navigation is great. It does allow you to get to things quickly, but I think it could be done a little bit better. Apple, good design overall, but they're more concerned with the eye catchy. I driving my eye and making it look pretty than they are about anything else, which granted, that's Apple, but if I want to do a search for a product or something along those lines, it just gets over convoluted, way too much information, and therefore hard for me to navigate. A website that used to be very big in the 90s that has kind of fallen behind is called Digital Blasphemy. Used it quite a bit back in the days, and it's basically a website that creates images and graphics. But if you were to come to this website, it's going to take you a while to realize what the website is about, because it doesn't get to the point and to the nitty-gritty, which was one of the main topics we talked about before. People need to understand what your website is about in 4 seconds or less. Okay. Financially, banks and things along those lines, you look at Capital One, right off the top, I'm kind of lost. How do I get to my banking information? To a user who is not tech savvy, they're not going to know that they have to click here, then go to banking. Now this is going to refresh, it's going to load information. It just makes it a little bit harder. Maybe when you first come to the page, show all the different logins, or show the different sections, an image for login to my bank, login to my credit card, as opposed to expecting users to comprehend what this is supposed to do. Again, not keeping in mind with what the end user should, what benefits the end user. It's just what benefits the company. Regions, granted it's a little smaller bank, but right off the top, the first thing they're going to take you to is personal banking, because they know that the majority of their customers that are accessing that website is for personal banking, and therefore take you straight up. The first thing you can do is log in, which again is what most people come to this website for. Another credit union that I use is an example here. The website is very, very plain. You can log in and access it, but way too over-convoluted with graphics and things that have nothing to do with banking, and therefore make it a little bit harder for me to realize what the website is about. At first glance, you might think that it's a sweepstakes website as opposed to a banking website.
So in closing, the main thing to keep in mind is when you're building a website, follow the 3 main things. 1, it's not for you, it's for your customers. 2, information is king. Get me there quickly. Don't make me click all over the place. And 3, don't overpower me with information. I get that, it's a fine line between get me what I need quickly, but don't overpower me to the point where I can't find it. Making a website pretty and putting all the graphics and the finishing touches is by all means welcomed. I don't want to go to a website that is so dull that you're going to be bored and therefore you can't find the information. But you need to find a fine line or a balance, for the lack of a better word, between the prettiness and the usability. And I think that's the biggest drawback that most designers, or I don't want to say drawback, the biggest challenge, I guess would be the word, that most designers have to learn and have to master. I'm guilty of it. A lot of people who build websites, I would say the majority, if not everybody who's ever built a website, is guilty of it. A lot of the times you lose sight and you lose, the greater picture. But it's all in kind of leveling yourself and finding that balance. Do case studies, do different things that allows you to identify how that website is being used by an individual that has no idea. And bring a buddy in, or bring a parent or an uncle or an aunt or somebody who's not very computer savvy. Sit them in front of it and say go, and see what basically they find. And again, in recapping, every website has its good side, every website has its bad sides. There's no perfect website that is, it doesn't exist. Build it correctly, keep the end user in mind, keep the information flow or the delivery in mind, and chances are it'll be successful. That's basically all you can do. I hope this has been informative, and that it makes you see a website in a different manner, because at the end of the day, we all use it, we're all addicted, we all love the internet, and it's here to stay. So with that, you guys have a good night.